Hi, this is Mr. H. I want to thank the Hot 120 Degree staff for allowing me to come out and say a few words to you. A lot of things that we want to talk about. Today, we want to deal with the topic of, the modern day, uh, the death of modern day prophets. Uh, if anybody know about prophets, um, those are people that carry the message for the time or the message for the people to empower the people to prepare themselves for a time that they're going in, or they go to a people and give them a message to confirm some things that the people have been thinking about, or they give the people a message to motivate them to do better. Well, in today's world, a lot of the modern day prophets, believe it or not, are in hip hop. And what we're seeing now is a spiritual warfare going on. And you're seeing the prince of the airways, or the prince of the kingdom of the air. So in the book of Ephesians, this is the Bible. I believe it's Ephesians 2, chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. It begins to talk about the kingdom of the airways and the adversary, which a lot of Christians call the devil, is the prince of the airways. That means anything in the air that's dealing with man's world. Anything in the air, the devil has authority over or access over when it comes to man's world. So the airways are how we communicate. Via telephone, via TV, via music, via radio, via radioactive waves. It's all vibrational. Well, in the book of Ephesians, it talks about who has authority over that vibrational kingdom when it comes to man's world. So in the realm of human beings, the adversary, which is considered the devil, right, is also known in scripture as the prince of the airways. Now, you say, well, how does that tie into modern day prophets? Well, a lot of the rappers, even though they come from humble beginnings, come from dysfunctional beginnings, come from poor beginnings, a lot of them, as they begin to go on their evolution, begin to find themselves, okay, and begin to have a core message to the people, okay, that are following them via the social platforms. Well, the three guys that you see in this picture, XXXTENTACION, I know I'm messing that up, but XXX, our guy X XXXTENTACION. If I'm messing it up, put it in the chat. You got Juice WRLD, which is in the middle, and you got little Peep. We'll start off with those three. They, okay, were rappers that started off like every other rapper. But as they begin to evolve in their short career, they begin to have a core message. Okay. They also begin to have tattoos that represented the core message that were inside of them. See, a lot of people don't know when people get tattoos, they're really taking an inward message and putting it on their body to give it an outward expression. A lot of people get tattoos not based on what they see from some outward, but a message or something they believe inward, and then they want to give it, memorialize it by making it a tattoo to express it outwardly. Well, I analyzed a lot of these three rappers' tattoos, and I connected to some of their last messages while they were in this realm, moving in human form, before they transitioned into a different realm that is no longer requiring them to be in a human body. But that's a whole nother podcast. I don't want to get too deep for you. I don't want to lose y'all in the spiritual wisdom. Okay, so why do I call him modern day prophet? Because a lot of the youth, a lot of the young people, a lot of people all over the world was beginning to listen to their music, inspired by their music, making it through life by some of the lyrics in these guys' music. And also, these guys, as I said, begin to evolve to have a core message. So let's see if we can pick the message apart uh, a little bit. So you see XXX Tentacion. I know I'm messing that name up, but bear with me. You know what I mean? I'm old school. You see on his dome, he has an actual, it's like a tree. Now, I'm gonna actually call it the tree of life as I look at it. And he had an interview, I think it was with No Jumper, but he had one or two interviews before he died where he began to say that that tree represents something spiritual that he really didn't want to get into, but it represents something spiritual. You know, and it's interesting. He put it right on the middle of his forehead, which is basically the centerpiece. Most of the ancient societies know about the pineal gland, and when they go to the floor to prostrate, they put their head on the floor so that the pineal gland can line up with the vibrations of the earth. Again, that's another deep spiritual thing. We'll do that maybe in another podcast if y'all want me to go deeper into that. But also, if you look also on his forehead, you see the number 17. With those of us that understands number, the number step is 17 is 1. That's being knowledge. 7 is the number of God. When you have 1 and 7, that means perfect order. Okay? So as this guy is walking on earth, he has the number 17 representing perfect order. Now, the prince of the airway, which we call the adversary, you can call him devil, I call him adversary. He's watching XXX grow in numbers. Popularity, TuneCore shows. His music was beginning to sell all over the world. And people begin to follow XXX a little more. To the point where I believe, this is just my opinion, I believe the Prince of the Airways got jealous of these guys because they begin to get more followers than him. This is powerful here. So he got jealous and realized if these guys were able to continue to get grow in popularity, then more people will follow them than they would follow the Prince of the Airways. So I believe spiritually he plotted for these guys to be destroyed. Now let me tell you why. I already said he got the tree of life, a symbol like the tree of life tattooed on the head, okay? Which he said in the interview before he died that represents something deeply spiritual that he did not want to go into. I already told you about the number 17 on his head, which stands for perfect order. Perfect order. Okay? Remember, the Prince of the Airway doesn't want nothing in perfect order because anything in perfect order represents God. Anything that's out of order represents the Prince of the Airways. Okay? Now, the other message that XX was giving us, and I'm not even looking at the bad vibes on the eyes and all that. You see the heart over there, and then under there you see numb. But if you look at the top of his forehead, you see the spiritual tree, right? To my right, could be to your left, but to my right, you see the word alone. Part of XXX Tentacion music or message begin to talk about how to be alone and what to do when you find yourself alone. His last few interviews begin to talk about how because his mom had him when she was a teen and he had to go be with different family members and different people and sometimes friends, he found himself alone. And when he started being alone, he kind of found himself in depression. And then he had a situation with a girl that he was dealing with, and also sometimes found himself alone in that situation. I think one relationship he had with a girl wound up being tragic, and then the other one, I think it was some charges there where they was trying to say physical assault things had happened. Um, but his message began to be about being alone. Do you know that a lot of people that use drugs, some of them use drugs because they can't handle being by themselves. They can't handle being alone. Mental illness starts from a lot of mental illness start from being alone. Nobody there to love you. Nobody there to support you. Nobody there to nourish you. Well, this rapper here began to address that in his interviews. Do you know the power that he was beginning to walk in? Okay. As he began to address that and other people begin to hear that it's okay to be alone, and even if you are alone, you will survive. No need to do anything detrimental to yourself. That was powerful. So powerful that I believe that the prince of the airways, the devil, that the Christian people like to call, was getting jealous that this guy, XXXTENTACION, was getting a bigger platform than him. And so he had to take him out. And you know that in life is the yin and the yang. There's the lower vibrations and high vibrations. And anytime the adversary wants to get something done, he can motivate those that are on a low vibration to move in the direction of the thing that he wants done. So those guys that robbed this guy and killed this guy were operating on low vibrations. And it wasn't about the robbery. It was about, even though they robbed them for material goods, they were used to take out a profit, a modern day profit that was going to teach the people that it's okay to be alone, it's okay to be by yourself, and then being by yourself doesn't mean that you have to do drugs or anything detrimental to yourself or self-hurt, but it's okay to be alone. And there will be times where you're going to be numb, and it's going to be times where the bad vibes, but the spiritual vibrations are greater than those low vibrations. And so I believe that this guy was taken out before his time because his message was going to grow on a greater platform globally, and the prince of the airways said, we got to take him out. Now, let's go to Juice WRLD. Everybody remember the incident. I think they were on a private plane, and the law enforcement was coming, and he supposedly put some drugs in his mouth, some pills in his mouth that later tragically killed our brother. But I had to ask too, and I had to go into it. I'm like, why? And as I go into it, and I begin to understand his message and the wisdom that he had at a young age, I begin to start putting the pieces together. Juice WRLD, if you can look at his tattoos, one, he had Auntie on there, and then he had Live Life, and then he said, I love all. I love all. Okay? These are powerful, potent messages. Because the Prince of the Airways does not want you to love all or have love or to live a balanced, peaceful life. So Juice WRLD, no matter if he was involved in drugs, again, they have humble beginnings, dysfunctional beginnings, poor beginnings. They come out of the hood and situations, so there are things that they may be involved in that's not necessarily them. But you got to get to the core message or the message that they were trying to get to us. So we can see that he said, live life. He can say, I love all, right? And right there you see 999. Now some of you that are in the church might think that's 666, but that's 999. Remember that 999. That's going to come up again in our conversation. Now let's deal with that number 999. First you see on his arm, Abyss. Well, Juice WRLD said that everybody starts off in the abyss, whether that's good or bad, right? You can be a lot of good things around. You could be drowning you too, and you can find yourself falling because you're being drowned by your situation, even though it's good. And that can be an abyss, or a lot of bad things can be around you. You can find yourself falling deeper down, and that could be an abyss. So his philosophy was that we all start off in the abyss. But you also see the number 999. I also believe that he had the 999 on his stomach. 999. Juice WRLD said in an interview that he had with Sway. Okay. Now I'm talking about Sway in the morning. It wasn't on the Sway in the morning show, but the interview was hosted by Sway. And Sway began to ask him about his tattoos. And when he got to the 999, he clearly said that the number 666 is the number of the beast in the Bible. This is what Juice WRLD said. And so what he did, he took the number 666 and flipped it so that it represents something good and not something evil. So he made it 999 to represent something godly, something positive. Now, you tell me, okay, that the Prince of the Airways would not get jealous if this guy is teaching people that they can come out of the abyss of fallen place, no matter where they start off in life, a fallen place, and that they no longer have to be under the number 666, which is the number of the beast or the number of the devil, that they can be under a godly number, which is 999. And 9 represents completion. It's actually the beginning of the beginning of a new cycle, which will get you back to 1, which will get you back to 0, right? So if you look at mathematics, the number goes from 1 to 10. Well, 9 represents completion. To show you another example of that, 9 is also how many months it takes for a baby to be born, right? Trimesters, right? 3, 3, 3. 3, 1 trimester, 2, 3, boom, and then 9 months the baby is born. So 9 represents completion. He had 3 9s, okay? He had 3 9s on his arm. Well, 3 times 9 equals 27. If you add 27, 2 plus 7 again, you come back to 9, which is completion. So Juice WRLD was spiritually mature for his age. And I believe that the adversary used low vibrational spirits at that time, which would be fear in his case. As the law enforcement are coming on an airplane, the spirit of fear gets in him. He makes a decision out of the spirit of fear, put pills in his mouth allegedly, and that kills him. Well, we know in the Bible it says that God doesn't give us the spirit of fear. So I just point that out so you can see how that ties into the low vibrational forces being used to take out a modern day prophet. So now you got Little Peep. And Little Peep never described himself to having some type of spiritual aspect. You do see on his head where it says, get cake, die young, which he actually did die young. But one of his core messages is tied into who he is. He had an upside down cross. Now, some of you who are from the old school churches say, oh, that's satanic. But those of us that have studied and know better, that represents the crucifixion of Peter as well, which is a symbol of humility, actually. But he had the upside down cross. So all over the world, people seeing the symbol of humility, okay, as this guy is going out and about. So that was one of his messages. Interesting that he had the upside down cross. The other message is his birthday, which is 11/1. And then under that, he has love. Well, for those that know no numbers from the spiritual realm, the number 111 represent love. And so Pete, Little Pete message, his inner message that he actually memorialized on himself was a message of love. Yeah, he had some other tattoos, but when you put something on your stomach, that's the core where the soul is. So his core message, right, was 111 love. And I believe that the Prince of the Airwaves did not want his platform to grow further than it was growing. You know, a lot of people knew Little Peep, and a lot of people began to follow him, and he was putting the message of love out. And the Prince of the Airwaves don't want that, because in love there's unity. But where there's no love, there's dysfunctionality, and where there's dysfunctionality, Prince of the Airway can get in there and work things into his favor. So I believe he, via low vibrational forces, caused this guy to wind up being in a tragic situation as well. Okay. Now, again, this is just my opinion, but it also comes from my understanding of the scripture too, and knowing that the Prince of the Airways is not going to let anybody else get on the airways. The Prince of the Air, the Kingdom of Air, the adversary is not going to let anybody else get on the airways and have more power and influence than him, especially if they begin to take their platform and influence the people to be empowered to do better. And I believe that XXXTENTACION, Juice WRLD, Little Peep begin to find their greater message and begin to tattoo these greater messages on them in opposition to the world around us, especially the Prince of the Airways. Whether they consciously did it or unconsciously did it, it doesn't matter. The fact that they did it and they are no longer here, I am concluding that part of the reason they are no longer here because they had a greater message to give, and those that didn't want that message out in the low vibrational kingdom, the adversary, work and move those that were on a low vibrational frequency, whether it's a spirit of fear, whether it was overdose, whether it was somebody killing, to eliminate these messages before they took root on the people. Now, some of y'all might say I'm crazy. I got this thing going on, this theory going on, but I can show you the same example with the late, great Nipsey Hussle. Now, if you look at his, you look by his temple, right under the braid, by his temple, right above his eyebrow, you see prolific. When prolific, you got pro-life, okay? Prolific, pro-life. And I'm not talking about the pro-life dealing with abortion and that. I'm not talking about that politics. I'm just talking about pro-life, period. Right? Same thing. Juice WRLD was to live life. Right? Prolific. But right below that, you see God will rise. See that? So in his tattoos, Nipsey Hussle is actually giving God credit. Do you not think that the Prince of the Airways, who is against God, would like for somebody who comes from the street, come from the hood, come from gang banging, growing in a platform, started the business, several businesses, right, on Slauson in California? I think that's off of Crenshaw. The Vector program that's also in that community that was empowering people to grow their skills and to open up small businesses and growing them in their creative genius. He started changing his community and the platform, and then he puts on his face to memorialize the word God will rise. You think the Prince of the Airwaves didn't get jealous of this young guy as he began to create a following that was following him to empower communities all over the world to do better, as he made the example on Slauson? You say, man, you're getting too deep. Nah, I'm not trying to get too deep. I'm just trying to point some things out. Well, right under that, too, if you see right under the beard, that is a tattoo to say the world is mine. Well, the Prince of the Airway think that the man-made world is his. But yet you got this young guy who's on the airwaves now. His profession is a rapper. So he's on the radio. He's on the airwaves, communication, TV, interviews. Who's actually challenging the powers that be, the spiritual dark powers that be, that are the Prince of the Airways when it comes to man-made world. He's challenging them by memorializing messages via his tattoo. So he got prolific, God will rise, and then right under the neck he got the world is mine. This is Nipsey Hussle. Also in Nipsey's arm you got God got me. See that where that circle is? God got me. So we understand Nipsey, and when he passed away, a lot of us hurt because he was the epitome of the hood story, right? All our lives we tell youth that are in gangs or youth that come from dysfunctional homes that they can go to school, be better, right? Or they can take the money that they're making from illegal activities and turn it positive and rebuild their own community. Well, Nipsey represented all that, okay? And so when he died, it impacted a lot of people because it kind of put death to that narrative. Doesn't that sound like something the Prince of the Airways would try to do, to kill the narrative that is causing young men who are in gangs to further themselves, get businesses and give their people jobs and create other opportunities that other people can get educational opportunities to improve their community? Wouldn't the Prince of the Airways want to destroy that message of a modern day prophet who is telling people what they could do before they can even see it in themselves? Just something to think about. Okay, just something to think about. So when you think about XXXTENTACION, I know I'm messing that name up, please forgive me, but XXX, Juice WRLD, Little Peep, okay, and Nipsey Hussle, they have a lot in common. One thing is in common, they all dead. They all died young. Number two, they had tattoos on their bodies that was in was a direct counterattack against the Prince of the Airways. They were talking positivity through their tattoos. They all were in the rapping profession, which means they were always on the airwaves. If their music was being played or they were doing interview or TV award shows and all that stuff, they were on the airwaves. And they had a core message that was going to be able to empower the youth to do better than what they're doing now. I believe that the Prince of the Airways, the adversary, the old time Christians call him the devil, were jealous of these young men, jealous of how they were rising, jealous of how they were promoting God, whether consciously or unconsciously, and said that he would not allow that to happen. So he wiped them out and caused pain in the hearts and minds of their followers to discourage the people that like their music, that we live in a world that won't change, that world that's totally bad. But I just want to encourage you. It may be bad all around you. You may be in the abyss. But as Juice WRLD said, we can flip it for the good. As Nipsey said, God got us. God will rise. As XXXTENTACION said, it's okay to be alone. As Little Peep said, love. As Juice WRLD said, I love all. So I just wanted to point those out and some of those connections, connected some dots. Again, this is my opinion. This is how I see it. I would love to hear your opinions in the, so make some comments, subscribe to my channel as we give you the best material out. Solid material, I'm not, Hot 120 Degrees is not just putting stuff out for the likes and the clicks. We do our homework to the best of our ability to give you solid stuff. So no more from myself. Just want to give you something to think about. Okay, because a lot of these young rappers are being murdered before their time. And I just found out that Pop Smoke was killed. 20 years old. They say in a home invasion. But remember, somebody from a low vibrational level can always be used to do evil. Make sure you raise your vibrations and make sure that the good in you comes out, and let the bad in you die a natural death. And all those who talk about karma, karma will return back on the person who does bad. But let me give you some wisdom. If the person who does bad repent, then karma will not return to that person. Peace. Please subscribe to our channel. Hit the subscribe button below. Hit the bell so you can be notified every time we post new content. Again, this is Mr. H. I want to thank the Hot 120 Degree staff for allowing me to come and say a few words, share my opinion on the death of modern day prophets.